Hare Krishna. Welcome to Books to Krishna. This is the year when we are celebrating the 125th birth anniversary of His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada's biography was written by Satyaswarup Das Goswami in 7 volumes. We are taking up this opportunity to present this literature in front of you by way of an audio video. This episode, which is episode 1, we are dedicating to the preface and introduction of the first volume. The author of the book is Satyaswarup Das Goswami, whose photograph you are seeing on the screen. The preface from the author I will read out. It says, after the disappearance of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada from this mortal world on November 14, 1977, many of his disciples saw a need for an authorized biography of Srila Prabhupada. The responsibility of commissioning such a work rested with the governing body commission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. At their annual meeting in 1978, the GBC resolved that a biography of Srila Prabhupada should be written and that I would be the author. According to Vaishnava tradition, if one aspires to write transcendental literature, he must first take permission from his spiritual master and Krishna. A good example of this is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's authorized biography, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita. As Krishnadas Kaviraj has explained, in Vrindavan there were also many other great devotees, all of whom desired to hear the last pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. By their mercy, all these devotees ordered me to write of the last pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of their order only, although I am shameless, I have attempted to write this Chaitanya Charitamrita, having received the order of the Vaishnavas, but being anxious within my heart, I went back to the temple of Madan Mohan in Vrindavan to ask his permission also. The transcendental process is further described by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada in his commentary on the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. To write about the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not an ordinary endeavor. Unless one is empowered by a higher authorities or advanced devotees, one cannot write transcendental literature. For all such literature must be above suspicion, or in other words, it must have none of the defects of conditioned souls, namely mistakes, illusions, cheating, and imperfect sense perception. The words of Krishna and the disciplic succession that carries the order of Krishna are actually authoritative. One must first become a pure devotee, following the strict regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds daily. And when one thinks he is actually on the Vaishnava platform, he must then take permission from the spiritual master, and that permission must also be confirmed by Krishna from within his heart. So to say, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit is an authorized biography does not mean that it is a flattering portrait commissioned by an official body, but that it is an authorized literature presented by one who is serving the order of Krishna and Guru through the disciplic succession. As such, Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrit is not written from the mundane or speculative viewpoint, nor can ordinary biographies comprehend the significance and meaning of the life of a pure devotee of God. Were such persons to objectively study the life of Srila Prabhupada, the esoteric meanings would evade them. Were they to charitably try to praise Srila Prabhupada, they would not know how. But because Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrit is authorized through the transcendental process, it can transparently present the careful reader with a true picture of Srila Prabhupada. Another important aspect of the authenticity of Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrit is the vast amount of carefully researched information that I am able to focus into each volume. The leading devotees of Krishna consciousness movement, in addition to giving me permission to render this work, have also invited the world community of ISKCON devotees to help me in gathering detailed information about the life and person of Srila Prabhupada. The Bhaktivedanta Books Trust, Prabhupada's publishing house, has given me his collection of letters totaling over 7,000, and scores of Prabhupada's disciples have granted interviews and submitted diaries and memories of their association with Srila Prabhupada. Aside from his disciples, we have interviewed many persons in various walks of life who met Srila Prabhupada over the years. The result is that we have a rich, composite view of Srila Prabhupada, drawn from many persons who knew him in many different situations and stages of his life. The acknowledgement section in this book lists the persons who are cooperating to bring about Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrit. Despite the authorized nature of this book, and despite the support of my many well wishers, I must confess that in attempting to describe the glories of our spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, I am like a small bird trying to empty the ocean by carrying drops of water to the land. The picture I have given of Srila Prabhupada is only a glimpse into his unlimited mercy, and that glimpse has only been possible by the grace of Guru and Krishna. Such comes the end of the preface written by the author Saswarup Das Goswami. Next is the introduction written by the author. This volume begins in Calcutta in 1896 with the birth of Abhay Charan De and ends in 1965 with Abhay Charan Ravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami on his way to New York City aboard the steamship Jaladuta. The worldwide fame of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, later known as Srila Prabhupada, was to come after 1965. After he arrived in America, before leaving India, he had written 3 books. In the next 12 years, he was to write 60. Before he left, he had initiated one disciple. In the next 12 years, he would initiate more than 4,000. Before he left India, hardly anyone had believed that he could fulfill his vision of a worldwide society of Krishna devotees. But in the next decade, he would form and maintain the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and open more than 100 centers. Before sailing for America, he had never been outside India. But in the next 12 years, he would travel many times around the world, propagating the Krishna consciousness movement. It has been predicted in the scriptures and envisioned by great saints. A few of Srila Prabhupada's god brothers had even tried to make it happen. They had gone to England only to return, convinced that it was impossible. But not until Srila Prabhupada traveled to America did it come to pass that Westerners wholeheartedly took up the life of Vaishnavism and became Krishna consciousness devotees. This story of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual success is narrated in consequent volumes of Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrit, the nectar of the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. Beginning with Volume 2, Planting the Seed, New York City, 1965 1966. Yet, this present volume, which covers most of his lifetime, telling how he prepared himself for his late burst of revolutionary spiritual activity, is most important. These first 69 years from a complete dramatic life story and do not depend on anything he did later to explain them. Abhay Charan's father, Gaur Mohan De, carefully prepared Abhay from childhood for the life of a pure Vaishnava. Gaur Mohan taught him to worship Krishna and encourage him, beginning when Abhay was only 5. In his Lord Jagannath cart parade through the streets of their Calcutta neighborhood, a small Rath Yatra festival, the same festival Abhay was later to enact on a magnificent scale in many Western cities. Srila Prabhupada used to say in his later days that whatever principle he had established as leader of the Hare Krishna movement he had learned in his childhood, with but one important exception: book publication and distribution, which he had learned later from his spiritual master. It was his first meeting with his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, in 1922 that focused Srila Prabhupada's future life into a meditation on how to carry out the mission of preaching Krishna consciousness in the West. After that first meeting, his entire life, his writings, his taking sannyas, his publishing books, and finally his going to the West became part of his dedication to carry out the order of his higher authority. Srila Prabhupada's obligation to his wife and children and his attempts to develop a business career in the pharmaceutical industry may appear inconsistent with a single minded determination to spread Krishna consciousness. Yet his earnestness in pursuing this responsibility and the way Providence finally extricated him from them proved important in his essential lifetime of preparation. After he left his family responsibilities in 1950, he met with obstacles of obscurity and poverty and an insecurity imposed by the tumultuous time in which he lived. But again, his struggle to continue his mission was part of his preparation. In light of Srila Prabhupada's unprecedented spiritual achievements in his later life, it seems inevitable that I should say something here about his being empowered by God. According to the Vedic scriptures, the lives of certain individuals are part of God's mission on earth. In the West, Jesus Christ is the best known example, a chosen son sent by God from the spiritual world. And in the East, the Vedic writings tell of various avatars of Lord Vishnu, incarnations of the Supreme Lord, with specific names, characteristics, and activities. Thus, Lord Krishna sometimes appears himself, and he sometimes empowers a particular devotee to do his work. Srila Prabhupada, in his commentary on Chaitanya Charitamrita, explains about the souls empowered by Lord Krishna. There are two kinds of living entities, Nitya Siddha and Nitya Badha. Nitya Siddha never forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality, whereas Nitya Badha is always conditioned even before the creation. He always forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By the order of the Supreme, Nitya Siddha remains within this material world like an ordinary man, but his only business is to broadcast the glories of the Lord. All Nitya Siddhas within this material world may appear to toil like ordinary men, but they never forget their position as servants of God. In determining whether a person is empowered by God, the main consideration is the quality of his work. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, the scholar Vallabh says to Lord Chaitanya, the fact that you have spread Krishna consciousness all over the world proves that you have Krishna Shakti, transcendental power from Lord Krishna. After Srila Prabhupada's passing away in 1977, his senior god brother B.R. Sridhar Maharaj quoted this same Krishna Shakti verse and applied it to Prabhupada. Unless he had been empowered by Krishna, he could not have spread Krishna consciousness as he did. When we consider Srila Prabhupada's identity as Lord Krishna's empowered representative, the years of struggle described in this volume take on a special sweetness. These years reveal little known events in the life of a person who was always wrapped in devotional remembrance of Krishna. Although he struggled through many hardships, his struggles were not those of an ordinary man, for he lived solely to carry out the will of Guru and Krishna. I invite readers to enjoy the very real human life story of Srila Prabhupada, who is known in this volume as Abhecharan. Thus ends the chapter of introduction written by Satswarup Das Goswami. Hare Krishna. We invite you to wait for episode 2, which will be chapter number 1 on the childhood of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.